Welcome to our session about gaining visibility and trust in your data using dbt Explorer. But first order of business, it's end of day one of Coalesce. It's been a long day. I think we should all do some stretches. Everybody raise your right hand, lean the other direction. All right, other side. And let's take a deep breath. All right, good. How's everyone feeling? All righty, cool. Well, to introduce myself, I'm Roxi Dahlke. I'm a product manager here at dbt Labs, focused on the Explorer and metadata platform. And my entire career, I've been adjacent to people and data, and so Explorer is such a great product, and I'm very excited to share it with you today. On stage with me here is my colleague, Jimmy.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Zhu. I also work on the metadata team with Roxi. I'm one of the engineers working on Explorer and the rest of our stack. I've also worked in data my entire career, and I'm super pumped to show you guys the latest and greatest Explorer features.
All right, let's talk about agenda for today. So first, I want to highlight some of the pervasive challenges that we continue to hear for data consumers and producers alike around visibility and trust. Then we'll dig into how we want to bridge the gap with dbt Explorer. We'll give a little overview about the product, give you a little demo about what features it has, and I'll talk a little bit about what's coming in the future ahead. And then I'll hand it over to Jimmy to actually share some of the new and improved features that we've added to Explorer. You guys can all test out today if you'd like. Cool. So I call this two sides of the same challenge because depending on, I think the end goal for an organization is to make better decisions with data. And that outcome is really the same. The desired outcome is the same, I should say. But depending on where you sit in the business, it might look a little bit different. Let's dig into that. On one side, we have developer Don. He's a data producer. He has some challenges and goals. He really wants to understand how he can better troubleshoot and improve and have better data quality to serve his stakeholders. And on the other side of it, we have consumer Connie. She also has some challenges and goals of her own. She wants to understand how can she better get context, understand what's there and available for her to use, and reuse data assets to make decisions. Quick note, any relation to the characters in the movie The Godfather is purely coincidental. Or is it? Stay tuned. So we've made many strides with dbt here, improving the workflows and the feedback loops between stakeholders and producers, using dbt and deploying your analytics code with software engineering best practices. But it doesn't always mean that data quality is easy to maintain or that it's easier to suddenly start making decisions with the data and understanding what it means. And we still see many challenges faced by people like Don and Connie around visibility, trust, data literacy, and of course, quality. So how do we want to address these challenges? Well, our answer is dbt Explorer. Let's talk about this. dbt Explorer is the catalog for your dbt ecosystem. Developers can build, understand, and really improve their pipelines. Consumers can discover, gather context, and build trust so that they feel good about delivering their insights. I want to zoom out for a second before we go back, dig into the Explorer product. This slide might look familiar from today's meeting, from today's keynote, where Tristan talked about the data control plane. And the data control plane is how we bring more users into the analytics development lifecycle. And dbt Explorer fits in really nicely in the catalog piece because it's the shared canvas with all the metadata for producers and consumers for them to be able to go get context and make their respective decisions. Whether it's troubleshooting a quality issue or it's deciding that they can use a model for their analysis because the data is healthy and the lineage makes sense. Now that we've zoomed out for a second, let's zoom back in. It's been 1 year since dbt Explorer was first showcased. How many of you were here at Coalesce last year when we talked about it? All right, some hands.
Nice.
Actually, I want to ask another question related to this. How many of you have never heard of dbt Explorer until this week? All right, a few of you. How many of you have heard of it but never actually clicked around or used it? All right, and then how many of you have used it before or use it today still?
Nice.
All right, that's pretty good. Very good. we've seen some really amazing engagement and usage of this product. We have over 6,000 active users, over 2,000 active accounts, and we process a whopping 18 million models on average per day, which was a very fun statistic to pull and learn about. And we also see some really great quotes from our customers that use this. The World Bank said that Explorer is an ally for any data-driven organization aiming for excellence in analytic workflows. And our friend at Hazel Health said they always have DBT Explorer up on one half of their screen so they can see where data is coming from and how column is defined. So we have a lot of conviction in this product and how it helps stakeholders and producers stay aligned. But we think this is because there is what we call the DBT Explorer value flywheel. Dawn can use Explorer to really build, understand, and troubleshoot the pipeline and improve it. For Connie, who can take the data, understand context, build trust in it, use it, and this kind of repeats, right? This is what a flywheel is. If this were a Godfather themed talk, I might say that Dawn is making an offer to Connie that she can't refuse. That offer, of course, being excellent data pipelines that she can use to make decisions. So now that we've talked a little bit about Explorer, I want to zoom a little bit further to give an overview about what's in this product. How can I use it? Let me press play for this video. I wonder if I can expand it on the slide. Can you all see that? Is that OK? OK.
Yeah.
So here I am on an overview page, which I can navigate directly to my models to see what's actually here. What models can I use? Are they healthy? Some metadata about them. And on the left-hand side, you can actually do this for more than just models. You can look at sources. If you're using the semantic layer, you can look at semantic models and metrics, tests, exposures, whatever it may be. This is the starting point in the Launchpad. You can, of course, search. So if you're looking for particular columns or models, this is incredibly handy. And on the right-hand side, you can actually filter and dig in even further if you'd like. And if you're a developer, you might want to see, how is my project performing? Are there models that are taking really long to execute? Do I have opportunities to make optimizations here? You can see things like the longest model executions and the most executed models, right? And also, if you're a developer, you might want to understand, are there any recommendations that I can do to make my project better? Which could be things like adding documentation to things that are missing documentation to improve the usability of the data, as well as adding tests. But I think the most exciting thing we have to offer here is this lineage. From sources to exposures, you can see how all of your data, where it comes from, and how it looks throughout your DAG. You can zoom into each of your nodes here to understand more about them, and also access a specific resource page directly to even get more information than provided in this panel. So here's the resource page, which tells me a little bit about the health of the data, a little bit about the lineage zoomed in, and some additional metadata here that might be interesting for me. Like what it depends on and what it's referenced by. And of course, if you're so inclined, you can look at the code. Another cool feature here is that we have column-level lineage, which Jimmy is going to dive a little bit deeper into. But you can see how columns are transformed throughout the process, which is incredibly useful when you're trying to understand whether you can use something. And in the lineage, if you use DBT Mesh, you can also see how downstream projects might use your models. So here I'm actually navigating to a different project that's referenced by one of the models I created. And finally, we have various different lenses in our lineage view that allow you to see the DAG in different ways. What we're looking at initially is just the resource view, but I've added on a layer that tells me how all the test statuses are across my DAG. So incredibly useful if you're trying to troubleshoot and identify issues. So that was a very, very fast crash course into what Explorer has to offer, and by no means exhaustive, but I just wanted to give you all an understanding of what are the key points and key things and use cases that you can use Explorer for. So before I hand it off to Jimmy, I just want to talk really quickly about us looking ahead for Explorer. So you may have heard in Tristan's talk and throughout the day today that we really want to bring more people into the analytics development lifecycle. And that includes users that may be less technical than your average DBT data producer or any data developer, right? So the 3 themes that we're really focused on over the coming months are 1, enhancing discovery, 2, facilitating collaboration, and 3, supporting scale. For enhancing discovery, we already have discovery features in DBT Explorer, as you saw. But we're bringing more less technical stakeholders into the mix. We want to make sure it's really easy for them to find what they need. So that could include making recommendations on what they're doing, providing a really clear understanding of maybe what other members of their team are doing, showing them what they viewed recently, these discovery features that help them use Explorer effectively as a launchpad. And of course, building on top of our existing health signals, since identifying healthy things is a key part of discovery. And the last thing here that we're thinking about is being able for users to actually preview the data so they can actually understand, is this the model that I want to use? Second, let's talk about collaboration. We think that collaboration between stakeholders and data producers is one of the most important ways that users can build trust. You probably heard me say that earlier in my talk as well. And we strongly believe that silos are the productivity killer. So how can we allow more consumers and producers to collaborate? This includes features like allowing stakeholders to actually make contributions directly in Explorer when they have the business context about something and they want to share that with producers. Really providing more spaces for these producers and stakeholders to collaborate, understand issues and trends, and resolve them together. And finally, supporting scale. We want to make sure that as more people are coming into the process, as more users are building with DBT Mesh, that we give users the high-level context across their account, not just in their project, without losing that domain-specific view. Additionally, the more users that come in here, the more governance workflows become important. So we want to include approval flows in the process that allow stakeholders and producers to actually approve data that can be used downstream. So a lot of themes there. Stay tuned for more as we continue to build our plan for the next coming months. Very excited about this. And this may have been a Godfather themed talk, and I might have a mustache. This is the closest thing I could find, thanks to Greg over there, actually. If you want a mustache, actually, go talk to Greg. He has like a whole box. And we spent a few minutes looking together for a Corleone-style mustache. This is the closest I could find, but I think, maybe could have trimmed it or something. So we think that DBT Explorer can help you leave the silos and take the data you can trust. For anyone that's seen this movie, you know why the meme is like cut off a little bit. All right, that's it for me. I want to hand it back to Jimmy to talk about some of our new and improved DBT features that you all can test out today. Thank you.
Right. So I'll take this.
And I'm just going to stand here in the corner with my mustache.
Thanks, Roxy. It's me again, Jimmy. And I'm going to be going over some of the latest and greatest features of DBT Explorer. Now, one of our focuses on developing Explorer is making sure that you get state and history information about your project and then quickly gain context so that you can take action with confidence and gain understanding quickly. That being said, let's take a look at a few example situations you might find yourself in. Maybe you're onboarding, either to the company or just to this project, and you just want to get the lay of the land. Or maybe you're already taking action in the project and you want to audit that you haven't broken the world. Or finally, more seriously, and we've all been there, maybe there was an issue in production and you're conducting impact analysis. Whatever the situation you find yourself in, you'll probably have one of these common questions that you're asking yourself or someone else. And that is, what recent development has happened? Who can you reach out to about that recent development? What are the most critical models or resources in this project? How does data flow into and out of those resources? What state might they be in? And what downstream impact might there be from the state of this project? No matter how you answer these questions, there's a lot of ways to use Explorer to do so. But today, I'm going to be showing you how some of our latest features can assist you in doing that. So I promise you, this is not the last one you'll see, but another Godfather reference. Has anyone ever felt like they almost needed to take an actual class just to understand how their stack or their project or something else at their company worked? Well, Explorer is here to be much more than just a classroom to you. That's why one of our focuses was on improving the actual homepage of Explorer. So seen here in the demo, we're going to navigate to the project overview homepage of Explorer and take a look at our latest version of it. So right in the middle is what we call our latest updates or latest changes section. And it's where you can see history about the current development of the project. The first tab, aptly named changes, gives you the latest changes in the project, things like code or descriptions changing. Seen here, we have two models. One recently had its code and its description changed, and the other model just had its code changed. This is where ordinary actions will show up that probably are correlated to the Git history of your project. The second tab, fortunately for us, is empty. That's where issues show up, things like degraded resources and critical failures. Now from this table, clicking on any of those rows, you can navigate either directly to the resource in question or to a zoomed-in lineage view of that specific resource, similar to what Roxi showed earlier. And finally, that owner link takes you to a page where you can even track down contact information in order to drive conversations with relevant subject matter experts. Instantly, from just this table, you have the info you need to either track down resources, track down Git history, or talk to the appropriate person. Something that we like to keep in mind when developing, as Roxi said earlier, is that developer Don and consumer Connie and anyone in between are our users, and we need to make sure you're equipped to ramp up quickly and take action quickly. However, just knowing the development history of your project isn't enough sometimes. Sometimes you really want to know about the hotspots of activity in the project, and that's where our next feature, query history, comes in. There's a lot of different ways to view it, so we'll start with the first one that's just at the project level. If you navigate to the Performance tab on the left, scrolling through a variety of different metrics that are tracked across time, we have our most consumed models chart. This one displays exactly what it sounds like, the models that are most consumed or queried in your warehouse. You can query as far back as 3 months or as recent as 1 week. For those of you who are a little more visually inclined, no fear, we also display this in our project lineage. Roxi mentioned we have a bunch of lenses available. You see that here. Query history is one of our lenses, and it's actually a heat map on a logarithmic scale that allows you to see very quickly which models are the most consumed and also which ones are the least consumed. We're also able to click in from here to one of the model resource pages, and you see that the count information for a specific model is viewable there as well. And if you want to see it in the list view for all models in your project, it's available there as a sortable column, so you can see the most or least viewed models immediately. Now, your first instinct with this might be to instantly track down the hotspots of activity, and that's not wrong, but don't forget the opposite. Projects that grow too large become liabilities from a cost and an understanding perspective, and it's important to begin pruning nodes when you can. Let's say we have a leaf node, maybe this model, and it's only queried 3 times in the last 30 days, but it's a terminal node. That probably isn't the kind of activity and value we're trying to derive, so if we're aggressively optimizing our project, this might be a worthwhile candidate for pruning. But maybe not yet. For our next example, we'll probably look at a model that has a little bit more consumption, maybe int returns unioned. It's slightly above that one, and we'll use that one as our next candidate for diving in. So now that we've picked a model to dive into, how are we going to figure out more about how data flows? This is where CLL, or what we call column level lineage, comes into play. So you can navigate directly to a model's resource page and click on the Columns tab, which gives you a list of the column names for that model. Clicking open one of those cards displays what we call the column level lineage view. And just as we have it with our regular project level lineage, we have lenses available for CLL as well. But these are a little bit different. Our default and most commonly used lens for CLL is what we call the evolution lens. This tells you exactly how data changes the moment it passes through a column. The types of evolutions are source, meaning it is the origin of that data, a pass-through with no change, a rename, so just a rename of the column name but no change to the data, or a full transformation. This means that at a glance, you immediately can tell how data changes from its upstream source to its downstream leaf node with just a glance. Time and time again, whether you're performing deprecations or optimizations or just getting the lay of the land, you'll probably find yourself coming back to CLL. On the note of deprecations and optimizations, we talked about how query history can be good for that, but CLL can be as well. If you're unsure if you have the right amount of nodes in your project, maybe too many pass-throughs, just pop open the CLL lineage, instantly plan your deprecation with confidence. Soon enough, those deprecated nodes will be sleeping with the fishes. It's not personal, it's just strictly business. And now let's dive into the upstream source of that model and take a look with our next feature. So this is our upstream source of the model we just looked at. And looks like we've got a caution sign. This is what we call our health signals. And this one is in a caution state because it doesn't have a description, boo, bad data, and it doesn't have a freshness check configured. However, it's not degraded, which is the worst condition, because it's still active and has been run recently. You'll see us navigating through here. This information is available across a variety of our list views and for a variety of different resource types. So we obviously have it for sources, but it's also available for models as well. And as you'll see me get into shortly, are exposure types with resource-specific information playing into the respective health checks. This is great because without having to dive into walls of metadata, you can instantly know the health of your resources at a glance and whether or not you need to take action or reach out to someone. No matter the state of resources in your project, it's good to know what they affect. And on the note of that, we've only talked about right now how resources affect each other. But at some point, the data does have to leave your DBT project. Where does it go? Maybe something like a dashboard. Anyone in here know about Tableau? Use Tableau a lot? Looker, Hex? Yeah. I have a question for everyone. How many of you use or know of DBT exposures? Show of hands. How many of you enjoy the experience using exposures? Much fewer. OK. No worries. We won't take offense to that. The reason people don't really use exposures is, for lack of a better term, they kind of suck. Exposures are manual representations of your BI representations. You have to manually define in your YAML and say, hey, I have a dashboard in Tableau. It depends on these things. And then let's say you change your dashboard. You have to rechange the YAML configuration you just defined. It's not executed. It doesn't give you anything. Why use it? I'm not surprised that not many people use exposures. That's why we invented auto exposures. So enter auto exposures on the scene. What do? All you have to do is say, hey, I have Tableau. I want to integrate it with my project, and you specify how. Then once there, we automatically scrape from Tableau what kind of dashboards or charts or workflows or anything else you might have configured downstream, and we pull it back into your project without you having to lift a finger. Now we've bridged the gap between your resources and your downstream BI tooling. To view this, just navigate to the exposure list view and filter by the auto exposures, and here you see them. You see the health signals that we just talked about earlier available from models and sources, and you see one of our newest items you might have seen in the keynote earlier, our embeddable health tile. This can be embedded anywhere you want and allows you to, at a glance, know how your, for example, Tableau dashboard might be affected by model or source degraded state or caution state. Instantly, state of your data is with you wherever you need it. If you navigate to the lineage view, you see our auto-generated Tableau nodes are seamlessly integrated into the DAG without the user having to do a single thing. Clicking onto one of them, our side panel even allows you to check in on the Tableau integration downstream if you so choose, navigating directly there. This isn't the end of our integration. We plan to upgrade this in the future where if your project is run or the data changes, we'll even have the ability to trigger actions like refreshing your dashboards on the fly without you having to do anything. Very exciting stuff. And that brings our features to a close. Or does it? Just when you thought we were done, we pull you back in. There is one other thing we want to talk about. And that is what we call our dev CLI support. So traditionally in DBT, prod and staging, or rather staging and prod, are used as the testing ground and the full transformation execution location traditionally. But dev CLI is kind of the odd child. You can't schedule jobs in the dev CLI. You can run individual commands, but it's kind of a per-user sandbox, not really a formal testing environment. So here, behind me, you've seen we just started in the dev CLI environment. We ran some commands, and we're in Explorer as normal, navigating around. Maybe we're going to look specifically at some models. But what happens next is what we're looking for. So we're going to navigate back to our project overview homepage. And currently, we're still in the production environment. On the top left, you see production staging, and dev, this new stage. Clicking on this dev environment value, nothing changed. Oops, no, I'm just kidding. Nothing has visually changed, but the data feeding into this now comes entirely from dev CLI activity. Just like that, you're looking at an entirely different universe of data. Now, this isn't complete, and there are hurdles to jump through, but I'm happy to announce that work to support all major features of Explorer via dev activity is being explored. And we hope to share news with you, more concrete news with you in the future. So to wrap up everything we talked about today, these features aren't just meant to be used in isolation. We hope they collaboratively enrich your entire usage experience of dbt Explorer, helping you build value and gain understanding with your teammates, and allowing you to drive the ADLC flywheel that much faster. And to close out, I'd like to share with you a few more customer spotlights about the latest features I just talked about. Zscaler is super, super passionate about auto exposures. They said that the Tableau integration, as well as the auto-generated lineage, have made impact analysis across hundreds of their dashboards an absolute breeze. Similarly, KinView absolutely loves model query history. They say that query history has completely transformed their approach to optimization, allowing them to gain really deep insights into their SQL execution, helping them identify bottlenecks, and allowing them to enhance their models with confidence. From Roxi and I both, thank you all for coming. It's been a long day. That's it.